Hi everyone, welcome back to Loga QA Automation channel. In the last video, we have seen what is instance variable and then what is class variable, and also we have seen what is instance method and class method, right? And also we have seen the memory management and where the class variables are stored or class methods are stored, and then where the instance variables will be stored and then class variables will be stored. All those things we have seen. And in today's video we are going to focus on the methods, right? Last class we saw the variables, and in this class we are going to see the methods. So when it comes to methods in Python, we have three types of methods. One is instance method, next is the class method, and then the static method. What I'll do is I'll go through them in PyCharm directly so that you will easily understand them. We have already seen this instance method and class method in the previous class, but still I would redo them once again for your quick refresh. Okay, let me go to PyCharm and I'm going to create a new Python file and I'll name it as test05.py. Alright, our new Python file is ready, and then here I'm going to create a class. Let's say I'm creating a class A, and in this class I'll first create a class method. Okay, so we already discussed we have to use the class method decorator in case we are going to create the class method. So def means a method. I'm going to give a name, class method, or let me keep the name as method underscore A. And this class method takes CLS as argument, right? And then it's a very simple colon, and then we can type it. So let me print saying that this is a class method. This is a class method m1m underscore a. Cool, we created our first method, which is nothing but the class method. Now I'll create an instance method. For instance method we don't need any decorator, so let me create m underscore b, but you remember it takes the argument self, right? And then I can print this is a instance method which is nothing but m underscore b. All right, now let's see if I want to access this class method. What should I do? I can directly use the class name, and then I can have a dot, and then I can say m underscore a. By doing this I'll be able to access the class method. You can see that this is a class method m underscore a. This method is called, and then this is printing the method name, right? If I try to access a instance method, let's see what is going to happen. If I run it, it's going to give me a error, right? It is giving an error saying that missing one required positional argument self, but and also very importantly it says type error. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to create an object. So how can we create an object? Very simple. Say any variable name is equal to, and then a of, that is the class name of. The moment I give this, I should use this object name now to call the right object dot the method name, the instance method name. When I do this, you can see that the class method is called using the class name, and then the instance method is called using the object, right? So that is as simple as that. This we have already covered in the last class, but still I wanted to quickly show you this before we take further steps. Okay, let me comment them. So basically what is a class? Okay, just to explain you, right? A is equal to 10, and if I say print type of A, what is going to happen? It's going to say that it's an integer class, right? That is what you are seeing. It is a class and then int. So there is a class int, and this is the type of this variable. And let me take one more. So b is equal to, say, my name, and if I say print type of b, what are you gonna get? Any guess? Yeah, it is class string, right? Now let me create my own class, say class my string. Okay, and I don't want to do anything inside the class, I so simply put pass. Now I'm going to type print, and also I'm going to create an object. Okay, obj is equal to my underscore string of. Now let me say print type of this obj, and see what is going to happen. So now you are seeing that this is a class of my string, it says. So basically, when we say we are creating a class, what are we doing is we are creating our own data type. It is as simple as that, right? Because here you have a data type called integer, here you are having a data type called string, and here you are having a data type called my string, because this is the class that you have created, and for this class you are creating an object. Basically, when I say creating an object, it is nothing but it is just calling the constructor of a class, right? So there will be always default constructor under any class. If you want, you can create your own constructor and override it. Otherwise, it is always, when you say class name of, it is creating a constructor, and that constructor is getting assigned to your object. All right. And when you print it, it says that class of underscore underscore main underscore underscore my string. So nothing but this class is present in your main program. That's why it says underscore underscore main. Other two classes are not from your file, right? So your file doesn't have int class, and your file doesn't have str class. That's why it is simply saying class int and class str. But this my string class is present in your file, this particular file. That's why you are getting main underscore underscore main, then my string. Got it? So this is what we are doing with respect to class. So remember, class is nothing but you are creating your own data type. All right. So now what I'll do is, we have seen this class method and then the instance method. We'll try to understand when to use class method and when to use instance method, right? So this we have already discussed when it comes to variable. So when to go for class variable and when to go for instance variable, we have already covered. Now let us understand when to use class method and when to use instance method. So there is one more method type. I'll first cover it, and then we'll go to when to use each of those methods, right? So one more method is called a static method, right? So for that also we need to use the decorator @static, and then I need to say def and m underscore, let's say c, or let's say m underscore static. And if you see, I am not passing any argument to this. Okay, so from this you can already guess this is a class method. What class method? m underscore static. Okay, if I have to access this m underscore static, let me see if I can directly access it via my class name. And let me run this. Cool, right? This is a class method m underscore static. Why am I saying class method? It should be a static method, right? This is a static method, m underscore static. Good. So what it means, right? First thing, class method, static method, both the methods are accessible outside the class without an object. That is what you understand from these two statements. You don't need an object to call the class method and static method. Then what is the difference, right? So what is the difference? We need to understand. Let me say I have a class variable 10. and if I want to use this class variable inside my class, can I do it? Let's see, print class variable comma cls dot I. Let me run this. Cool, class variable 10 is printing here. But if I want to try the same in static method, can I do it? Print class variable comma, what can I use here? I can't use anything because this method is not taking any arguments, but I'll try using this cls here and we'll see what is going to happen. cls dot I. First of all, here itself you are getting an error. Let me run it and show you. It says name cls is not defined. So what you understand from this is class method can access class variables, but static method cannot take a variable. You understand the point? So it cannot have any variable. This is where we need the static method. So if we are having a method which is not going to take any variables, if I have to say it very explicitly, no class variables or no instance variables are going to be used in a method, then use the annotation or use the decorator static method. Okay, and if you are going to use the class variable inside a method, only class variable, okay, it is, if you are going to use only class variable, then that method has to be a class method. But here now we are having a instance method, right? Let me have a comment so that this will be very clear, right? This is the instance method. So if it is instance method and I can have my own variable, right? So let me see, I'll create a variable called I is equal to 5, and then I'm giving the name I purposefully, okay, because this I is my instance variable, this I is my class variable. So inside this instance method, if I want to print instance I variable value, then what do I need to do? Comma self dot I, print class variable class I variable value, comma cls, sorry, a dot, because we are using the class name dot I. Right, let me run this first, we'll see. So instance I value is 10, self dot I, and class I variable value is equal to 10. Okay, so I'm unable to change the class variable value inside the instance variable. Okay, let me remove the self and see. No, I can't do it. To use self here. Okay, so in the instance we cannot reuse the variables from class. That's what we understand from here. So let me change it to j. Okay, I'll remove this. Let me change it to j and I'll run this. What is it saying? A object has no attribute J. Let me see. Okay, let me take the previous program and see. Oh yeah, that is the mistake. Got it. Okay, I should have set the self.j, right? Self.j is equal to 10, and I'll run this. Cool. So j value, let me increase so that you will understand this better, right? So instance j variable value is 20, and then class I variable value is 10. Let me try one more thing. Self dot I is equal to, let me make it as say 25, and then out of curiosity I'm doing, okay, say I want to put it as instance I variable as self dot I, correct, and let us run this. Cool, right? So instance I variable value is 25, instance j variable value is 20, but when it comes to class I variable value, it is 10 because that comes from here. All right, now you get a point that when can we go for instance method? If we have to use instance variable or instance variable and class variable, then we should go for this instance method. When should we go for class method? If we are going to use only class variables, then we should go for class method. If we don't want to use any variable, then we should go for static method. Only thing is, for class method and static method, we need to use the decorator. So @ class method for class method, and then @ static method for static method. That's all, guys. So this sums up what I wanted to cover with respect to instance method, class method, and static method. Now let's move to the next topic, public versus private. So far, whatever variable that you are seeing and whatever methods that you are seeing, all are public, right? What I mean by public is, say here, if I say a dot I is equal to 100, and then let me put it on the top so that, okay, maybe I'll call this again a dot I is equal to 100, and I'll call this a dot m of a, and I'll run this. So now first the class variable value was 10, and then now the class variable value becomes 100. The reason is, since this is public, I'm able to access it outside. Not only accessing it, I'm able to modify it, right? That is called public. And not only how can I say, not only the class variable, even the instance method variable can be accessed or can be modified from outside, right? So for example, here let me change it to I comma j, right? So I'll change it to I here and then j here. Instead of I comma j, I'll change it to x comma y. Okay, let's see. I comment all this, or okay, this is m of b, correct. But when I call m of b, I'm going to pass a couple of values. What I can pass, 500 comma 600. Okay, let me see. As you see here, instance I variable value is 500, instance j variable value is 600, right? So you are able to control the variable which is there inside the instance method outside the class using the object, right? So that is what is called as public variables, public methods. So all these are public. Now I want to make them private so that the access will not be granted to those variables and classes outside of the class. Only within the class I want to keep the access. Then I should go for private. How can I create private? It is very simple. Let me create a new Python file, test06.py. So let me start with the class A as usual, and then instead of saying I, what am I going to do is underscore I is equal to 10. This double underscore tells Python that this is a private variable. Okay, now we are talking about private variable, guys. So let us see it. Private class variable. If I have to be very specific, this is private class variable. Next, let me create a method. So say this time I will go with a simple method. So method dev m1, and this is a instance method, and then I'm going to call this underscore I. How can I call? I can use print class private variable I. Comma underscore I, but before that we need to put the class name. So this you know already, right? So if I want to use the class variable inside the static method, inside the what method is this, instance method, then we should use the class name. Good. Let's run this by creating an object first. So obj is equal to a of, then obj dot m1 will slowly develop. Okay, so now it is saying that class private variable I is 10. Let me change it to I is. Okay, cool. So this is clear, and let us see if we can access this I variable without the object. So a dot underscore I. If I do this and if I run it, it says attribute error, type object A has no attribute underscore I. But if I say j is equal to 10 without this double underscore, if I say, and if I simply type a dot j, and if I run it, you see that this gets printed. The j value is 10 and it gets printed. Let me increase it so that it will be clear. So j value is 100. So what do you understand from this? If it is private, then we cannot access it outside the class with the class name. So this is what you are getting from here. But inside the class, you are allowed to access, right? So a dot underscore I am using. Perfect. So next, what am I going to do? This is class level private variable. Next, you are going to see method level private variable. So you already know method level private variables can be created like this. Method level variables can be created like this. Self.I is equal to 10. Let me change the name of the variable here. X, will keep X for this. Yeah. Okay. Self dot double underscore X is equal to 10. Now I'll print method level method private variable X is self dot double underscore X. And let's run this program, and you can see that method private variable X is 10. And is there a way I can change this value from outside? No, it won't be possible. Okay, method variable If it is private, I will not be able to change it. Okay, so this is about the private variables. Now let us see how to create private methods. Okay, the same concept. If you go with def underscore underscore m2, say it is taking self, and I would say that print this is private method. This is private method m2, I would say this. Now since we have the object for class A, let us try to call this m2 and let's run this. It says attribute error, right? Let us see if I put double underscore m2, will it run? No, again attribute error. So this is not working because I cannot call the private method from outside. But when do we create private method? When we need the method to be accessed only within the class, then we'll go for I have to now I'm missing something, let me find it out. So here I'm calling the private method inside the public method. I think I'm missing this self. Let me try this one more time. Self dot m2. Yeah, perfect. Okay, when I use this self, just like it says within this object it has to find, so it is finding and it is calling the underscore underscore m2. So this is, again remember, this is nothing but a instance method. So instance method will be inside the object instance space, right, the memory. Anything within the instance space, if you want to call, that is when you go for the self dot, right? So now you see that this is a private method gets printed, but you were not able to access this m2 method outside the class, correct? So now let me say private method can be accessed only within the class. Not outside the class. Similarly, private variable can be accessed only within the class, not outside the class. That's all. So this is what we wanted to understand. Where are we going to use it, right? So I'll give you a very simple example. Let me create a new Python file. I'll name it as test07.py. Okay, so there is a concept called encapsulation. So encapsulation is nothing but we are binding, right? So binding the data member. Data member is nothing but variables. Data member with member functions. Member functions are nothing but the methods. Why are we doing it? If we do it, they'll act as single entity, right? They will act as single entity. What does it mean? Okay, so what does it mean is what the next question you will get. Very simple. You are hiding the data and providing the access outside the class using getter and setter methods, right? Hiding the data and providing access to the data outside the class using getters and setters. Okay, this is very important when it comes to automation framework creation. So that's why I wanted to highlight this OOP concept, encapsulation. I'll give you an example without the words getter and setter, just for your understanding. Say, let us say there is a class called my account, and you have a class variable called say my balance is equal to say 10,000, and now you're going to, without creating any object, what you're going to do is you're going to manipulate your balance from outside. My balance is equal to say 5,000. You're manipulating it, or maybe you're increasing it. Print this. So what is going to happen? It is going to print 50,000. It shouldn't be allowed, right? So this should be in control of the bank where you are maintaining your balance, your account. But if you don't make it private, anyone who knows the class name can easily update it. Instead, they're gonna make it private. So when they make it private, automatically whatever is inside, when we make it private, we need to see if we can access this. So this is where we get attribute error, right? Nice. Let's see how can we do getter and setter now. Getter is nothing but it is like withdrawing the money, right? So setter is nothing but it is like depositing the money. So let me create one class variable, class method, and I'm going to name it as deposit, and it has to take the amount as input. So what am I doing? Class and amount I'm taking. cls.mybalance is equal to CLI dot underscore my balance plus equal to amount. What does it mean? It keeps appending, it keeps adding amount to the existing balance, and I'm printing deposited amount is this, what is the new balance. And also I'm going to create another class method, and I'm going to name this as withdraw, and this is also going to take class CLS and amount, and this time if the amount is greater than the available balance, then I'll do this work. If the amount is if the amount is less than the available balance, then I will allow the user to withdraw, and then I'll update the balance. If not, I have to tell the customer that the balance is insufficient. So this is what is going to happen. So now I'm simply going to use the class name, because these are class methods. Dot deposit, I'm going to say 1000, then my underscore account dot withdraw, say I want to withdraw some 500. So initial balance was 10,000 and I'm adding 1000, it means it should become 11,000, and then if I withdraw 500 it should become 10,500. Let's see how this goes. Cool, right? So from 10,000 it increased to 11,000, and then from 11,000 I withdraw 500, so it becomes 10,500. Let me add few more deposit just to show you that it is appending. So first I'll add 1000, then I add 2000, then I add 3000. Let me run this. So 1000 deposited, it becomes 11,000. 2000 deposited, so 11 plus 2, 13k, and then 3000 deposited, 13 plus 3, 16k. So this has increased to 16k, after which I'm withdrawing 500 and it becomes 15,500. I can withdraw multiple times if needed. Say this time I withdraw 200, I withdraw some 10,000 this time. Let's see. Okay, after these withdrawals the amount becomes 5,300. Cool. So now you understand when do we need to declare something as private, right? So because when the programmer or the party who's going to use the class doesn't want the variables to be exposed, not only variables, even the methods, but here in this example I have explained only the variables, doesn't want the variable to be exposed to the outside world, by which he wants to block them from modifying the variable, then they can go with private variable. Once we create private variable, if we have to provide access, then we'll have to go with getter and setter method. This is setter because this is depositing, right? This is setter method and this is the example for getter method. So when we go about writing frameworks using Python for automation, we will see where this encapsulation is being used and how useful it is, why we should use all those things during the framework session. But for now, we are good with this topic. So what have we covered today? A quick recap. We saw what is instance method, what is class method, and what is static method. And when do we go for instance method? Example, when we use both class variable as well as instance variable, then we'll go for instance method. When do we go for class method? Only when we use only class variables, then we'll go for class methods. And if we don't use any variable, then we'll go with static method. And then we also covered what is public and private. So we saw what is public variable, what is private variable. As I mentioned, public variable, in general, all the class and instance variables are public. If we want to make it private, then we need to go with double underscore with those variables. And also same thing is applicable for public method and private method. We can create all types of method as public and private, but I have shown you only the instance method, how to make it private and how can we call it from another instance method. But obviously we can create private class method, private static method just by using double underscore in front of the class name, and then it cannot be accessed outside the class, that's all. And also we covered a simple example for encapsulation. Encapsulation is nothing but hiding the data and providing the access through getters and setters, right? So this is what we need to remember when it comes to encapsulation. All right guys, with that we are coming to the end of this session. Before we come to the next session, please revise all these, practice one more time. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. See you all in the next session. Bye for now.